And Frank, first up, let's just think very closely about this race. You've had a lot of predictions on different things, and you've been very right on some of the predictions you've made since Election Day. What do you think happens in Georgia in the runoff? What are the odds that either of these seats go to the Democrats?
You have to give it a 50-50 because Georgia is now a genuine swing state, that Donald Trump is going to lose in Georgia. The two Republicans ran ahead of their Democratic opponents, but there's a little bit of chaos. The Republican candidates actually called for the Secretary of State, another Republican, to resign because they felt that there wasn't enough activity in challenging the vote and challenging the voters, the accuracy of the results. And you don't ever want chaos in your political party 2 months before what I believe is the most important Senate elections in modern times. Make no mistake, the consequences of this on whether they roll back Trump's tax cuts, on whether they have a Green New Deal, on whether they get rid of the filibuster, on whether they add 2 states to the union, on whether they, on everything. If the Democrats can win both of these seats back, then they will be in control of the Senate, and the president will have an agenda that won't be able to be challenged by Congress. But if the Republicans win even one of these seats, then they control the majority, and they will determine exactly what of the president's agenda goes forward.
Frank, you already heard Joe Manchin. Did you watch Joe Manchin? You don't believe him?
I do believe him. I do believe that he's an independent force. I do believe that he is a reasonable senator, right dead center in America, and he represents West Virginia very well.
But he said he won't go for certain things that you just described off the board. And you're telling me you believe the Ossoff-Perdue race is 50-50? I would take issue with that. I mean, nobody knows. We'll see what happens. I don't know whether I wouldn't be doing any polling and then giving me the results. I mean, as Becky said, you've been right since Election Day. But
Joe,
I don't
do you remember? It was before that. Joe, hold on.
All right.
Joe, 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before the election, you had me on the show, and I did an entire prognostication 2 weeks before the election of what was going to happen. And I know you've got that tape, and I'm begging you guys in the control room to roll it because Joe is challenging my credibility here. Come on, guys in the control room, roll that tape. And let's see what I see.
I'm not challenging your credibility. I'm talking about most pollsters have not been, we saw what happened with pollsters. My only point, and we don't need to roll your tape, Frank, but all I'm saying is what are you saying right now that the Perdue-Ossoff race is tracking as? Because, Georgia, once Georgia realizes that they're the sort of the focal point for all of this stuff that you just described, you don't think that maybe it could be a different result without the independent running? I don't know about Kelly Loeffler, but you don't think it could be a different result for Perdue versus Ossoff? And you know that everybody's going to pull out all the stops, Republicans and Democrats down there.
Because there'll be more money spent per voter than any other Senate race in modern history, number one. Number two is that there is a bit of chaos within the Republican machine when you've got the 2 Senate candidates challenging the efficacy of the Secretary of State. Number 3, we don't know what role Donald Trump is going to play in that election. We don't know if he's going to take his marbles and go home, whether he's going to be active. Number 4, we do know the role that Joe Biden and his allies are going to play in that campaign, and they will do everything they absolutely can. They're going to flood the state. Number 5, there will be disappointment and election withdrawal from Republicans because they were unsuccessful in the presidential election. And number 6, runoffs like this have very different turnouts than the actual vote on Election Day, on the original Election Day. For those 6 reasons, we cannot project right now what's going to happen, and so you have to call it 50-50.
Hey, Frank, just to kind of put it in a finer point, even if you didn't see Manchin going along with some of the things that they've talked about doing, you would have a very different makeup of the Senate. I mean, it determines who runs each of these different each of these different committees in the Senate, which is pretty important, too. Who's going to run banking? Who's going to run finance, which depends on what's going to happen. The Wall Street Journal has an op-ed that points out today, or an opinion piece, I should say, that points out today, Ron Wyden would be running finance if the Democrats take control. He's not only in favor of the $4 trillion tax plan that Biden's put out, but he's also in favor of things like taxing unrealized gains or capital gains taxes on things that have come through. And there's some pretty complex ideas depending on who's running it and who's running what bills actually make it to the floor.
and Elizabeth Warren becomes a committee chairman, and Bernie Sanders becomes a committee chairman.
Or Treasury Secretary. Yeah.
I don't think so, because you've got a Republican governor in Massachusetts, and I don't think that the Democrats want to give up that seat to put her in as Treasury Secretary. I actually think that that's prognostic, and you can play it back again. I don't think that's going to happen with Governor Baker, a Republican in Massachusetts. That said, you're correct. And these committee chairmen are not mainstream. A lot of these committee chairmen are on the progressive wing of the party, and they would be more than happy to further what Joe Biden has said about any of these policies. Don't forget the impact on energy policy. Don't forget the impact on jobs. Don't forget the Department of Labor, that we could have a significant rise in unionization and union efforts in these various companies. So you've got Amazon, you've got Walmart, you've got some big corporations out there that are watching what happens in the Senate, and you've got small business owners that are afraid that under a Democratic Senate, you can get more regulations, you can get more taxation, you can get more litigation. The stakes have never been so high, and everybody watching is going to be impacted by what happens on January 5th.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.